Joining me right now, great pleasure to welcome back to the program, great author, sports writer, commentator on both radio and television, and he has a brand new book out just in time for the U.S. Open coming up in a couple of weeks. It's called Rocco Mediate. Are you kidding me? Rocco Mediate with John Feinstein, all about last year's great U.S. Open final round and between him and Tiger Woods. And John joined us by phone today. John, good to talk to you again. How are you?
I'm good, Doug. How are you?
Doing great, just in time, because Tiger gives you a little good little preview with that win yesterday, doesn't he?
Yeah, I'm sure Tiger was thinking that when he wanted to help John and Rocco out. But,
plug the book a little bit, right?
Plug the book, yeah. I'm sure that was important to him. But we are almost on the first anniversary of that remarkable Open last year when Rocco really came out of nowhere. He was ranked 158th in the world. He had to qualify just to get into the Open to take Tiger 91 holes. And I don't think anybody in the world expected the playoff to be as close and as competitive as it was, and I think very few people expected Rocco to be in contention at all. And given all the injuries he's dealt with and all the problems he'd had off the golf course prior to that Open, it really was a remarkable story.
Mediate's an interesting guy. I remember just following golf, on my own, watching him over the years. He had a good early start to his career, won, I guess, 4 or 5 tournaments in a relatively short time, and then he had the back problems, didn't he?
Exactly. He was actually ranked in the top 20 in the world in 1993 when his back first went on him during a tournament in Las Vegas, and 6 months later he had to have surgery right after the U.S. Open in 94 when he sort of forced himself to play because he was paired the first 2 rounds with Arnold Palmer, who was his hero, having grown up in Greensburg, Pennsylvania, about 20 miles from Arnold in Latrobe, and Arnold had taken him under his wing as a mentor early in his career. But he had the surgery then. It took him most of 2 years to really get back to playing full-time. And ever since then, really for most of the last 15 years, he's had back problems on and off, has been off the tour at different times. You might remember in 2006 he was leading the Masters on Sunday with 9 holes to go, and his back went on him again, and he was barely able to finish. So for him to overcome all that, and at the age of 45, to challenge Tiger the way he did in the Open was obviously completely unexpected.
And he was, if not the only one of the very few golfers, I think, to win on the regular tour using the big putter, right? I mean, that was kind of unusual.
Yes, he was the first one to win on the regular tour using the long putter. And he had gone to it in the early 90s, partly because he was struggling with his putting, but partly because he'd gotten very overweight, which may have led to some of his back problems. And by using the long putter, it took some pressure off his back. And but then in 2007, after he met a woman named Cindy Hilfman, who really helped him with the back issues, she actually suggested he go back to the regular putter because he wasn't putting very well with the long putter, and that helped him a lot too. And he did putt obviously brilliantly during that Open.
Talking with John Feinstein, author of Rocco Mediate. Are you kidding me? The great battle between him and Tiger Woods in last year's U.S. Open. Did you actually get a chance that day to walk the course with him on the final round?
Yes, I was there throughout, and I cannot take credit for being smart enough, Doug, to say, oh, there's a book in this, because I thought it was a great story. I was thrilled for Rocco. I'd known him since 1993 when I started researching A Good Walk Spoiled, because he was close friends with Lee Jansen, being college teammates down your way and at Florida Southern.
Right.
And Lee won the U.S. Open that year. And so that's when I first got to know Rocco. So the whole week was great from the standpoint of those of us who were friends with Rocco. But it was actually Rocco who came to me about 10 days later and said that a number of agents and publishers and writers had approached him and said, you need to write a book about this experience and about standing in with Tiger and what it was like. And he said, I'd like to do it, but I'd like to do it with someone who I know and someone who I trust. Would you be interested? And my first thought was, yeah, why not? It is a great story, and spending time with Rocco will be fun because he is as good a guy as he seems to be on television. And I also knew, to be honest, Doug, the reporting would be easy, that I just basically turn on the tape recorder and let Rocco tell stories.
Well, he seems to be one of those guys that's not only a fan favorite, but the other players like him. Is that true?
Yes, always been very popular with the other guys in the locker room. As I said, he's not only because he's funny, but it's interesting. When Rocco first came on tour, he remembers guys like Palmer, obviously, but also Tom Weiskopf and Raymond Floyd and Curtis Strange, older guys on the tour back then, kind of reaching out to him and saying, look, kid, here's what you do. Here's what you don't do. You know, Weiskopf called him over in a locker room one time and said, you can't show up for a Pro-Am wearing pants like that. You look ridiculous. Here's a card. Call my tailor. Tell him I told you to call and get some decent pants. And when Tiger first came on the tour, one of the few people who actually reached out to him and wasn't jealous or wasn't intimidated by him was Rocco, because Rocco remembered that, and his attitude was, you know what, Tiger may be a great player, but he's still just a kid. He still needs some older guys out here to kind of show him the way a little bit. And along with Mark O'Meara and John Cook, who were neighbors of Tiger's at Isleworth, he really did reach out and try to help Tiger, and Tiger always remembered that. So Rocco's one on a very short list of guys that Tiger actually likes.
And that not only the final round on Sunday, but the extra holes on Monday played in the afternoon. I guess that probably got the biggest audience maybe ever on a Monday afternoon for any kind of golf tournament.
Without question, the ratings were way beyond anything anybody had ever gotten in Monday golf. And it was interesting that I don't know how they well, I do know how they track this, but trading on Wall Street on the New York Stock Exchange, the volume, this is before the market collapse, actually went down 10% while they were playing because so many people were either watching on television or watching on their computers during that afternoon.